And we are live. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Bunker Office Hours, a weekly live show brought to you by the team at Bunker Labs, a national network of veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs dedicated to helping the military to connect the community, start their own business. We know that 25% of transition and service members want to start a business and they need places inside their community they can connect with the people, resources, and support they need. Today, I'm joined by my colleague, Amy Morrison, and our guest for the day, Mr. Joe Hippelman, founder of Assault Forward. Amy and Joe, what's going on?
Howdy.
Hey, Mike.
So before we talk to Joe here, we got to go ahead and give some announcements of what's taking place in the bunker. So, Amy, let the community know what's going on over the next few weeks.
Sure, thanks. So no events this week, IRL or online, but next week, special plug for office hours. Join us back here next Tuesday for VIR Q&A, live Q&A with Ann Cardona and Shelby Nelson, who run that program. They're going to answer all the questions you have about veterans and residents because those applications open tomorrow, September 1st. So you want to get your applications in, but if you've got any questions, join us next week. Give us all the questions live, and that's the only event. Then also we have our continuing entrepreneurial insight study is still open. So we still want some participation on that so we can get your feedback on what's going on out in the real world so we can serve you better with our programs and services.
Awesome. Amy, do we know when the EIS study closes?
Well, it keeps changing. So I want to say that it's at least through today, but it's probably going to be for another couple of weeks.
Got it. And if I'm not mistaken, when do the VR applications go live for this next cohort?
They open tomorrow technically, but I think we're going to get that link up a little early today.
Perfect. All right. So for that next cohort out there, make sure we're starting to spread the word. And again, we're going to have the Q&A next week. So come bring your questions, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all of them for you to set you up for success as a member of the veterans and residents. But for today, I'm honored because we finally got Joe on here from Assault Forward to talk with us today about minimum viable product and how they've been able to achieve some success going to market. And the reason I wanted to bring Joe on to talk about this is, I've become a big fan of when we're launching new ventures, one product, one target market, one distribution channel, and focusing in and honing on that is going to allow people to basically not get caught up in a lot of noise around entrepreneurship. Because Joe, as I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of hype and hoopla, but at the end of the day, we got to generate revenue. And I'm a Marine, and Marines were taught to keep it simple, stupid, right? The acronym KISS. And so I'm excited to hear your story and your words of wisdom for our audience. So first, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and kind of introduce yourself to everyone and let them know what you're doing with Assault Forward.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike. Well, I am Joe Hippelman. I'm one of the co-founders of Assault Forward, along with my partners, Shad Chowdhury and Josh Mendoza. The three of us are Army veterans that met at the University of Maryland Smith School of Business, where we were all taking advantage of our GI Bills and went back to school after our military careers. And while we were there, I had this idea, as you can see on the banner behind me, of the reverse American flag lapel pin. And what it was it came from this, I love the grunt styles, Rangers Up, Nine Line, Black Rifle Coffee, all those, companies that have great apparel and things like that. But I couldn't wear a graphic military t-shirt in a professional business setting. I was, for better or worse, in a suit and tie job, and so were my co-founders. And we said, how do we express our pride of service and share the story of our time in the military with our fellow veterans and those around us in the civilian workplace, without being able to wear one of those t-shirts that immediately identifies you as, hey, oh, you're grunt style. Oh, that's awesome. I love that. I was in the military too. You start a conversation. So we came up with the reverse American flag as that unique symbol of our service, as the way we wore the patch on our uniform in combat, with the flag facing forward, the field of stars to the right, charging into battle, leading the assault forward. And we said, if we could wear that as a lapel pin, I kind of it's a false flag of patriotism to me. All the politicians that wear the, wavy red, white, and blue giant lapel pin. If that's your pride in your country, I love it, and that's great. Hopefully, it's made in America, like all of our products are. But it didn't feel authentic to me, or unique or special. So taking the subdued in color reverse American flag and wearing it as a lapel pin on my suit really was a way for me to connect with other veterans and share, as a conversation started, the story of my military service. So getting into today's topic with what we did with Assault Forward was we said, well, I kind of told my co-founders that really wasn't a business to me. I just thought it was a unique thing that I wanted for myself, and that it would scratch a personal itch, and that was it. But they said, I think other veterans would like this, and that this would be well received in the community. Let's start a business selling these pins. And I thought, selling a single lapel pin that's not really a business, right? But we looked at it, and taking our education about starting a company, we said, we could do this. So we literally launched our website after investing $500 each, and getting 100 of the reverse American flag lapel pins made. So it's a small item. It's 1 inch by a ½ inch, rectangular lapel pin flag. And we launched our website with these, and just through our posts on our personal Facebook pages and our network, and then creating Assault Forward Facebook and Instagram and Twitter pages and things like that, started promoting it and building an audience. And we said, well, if they don't sell, we'll have only invested a little bit, and we walk away from it knowing we tried. But they did sell. And we always like to say, first, when the orders came in, they were from our friends and family, which is a great way to start your personal network. And so an order would come in, and we'd say, oh, who knows Mike? Oh, Sean, that's your buddy. Or, oh, that's my former, battle buddy from active duty, or my former commander or former soldier, or whatever. And then all of a sudden one day, like, the order came in, and we said, is that you? Is that you? And it was none of us. Somebody from outside of our network had decided to spend their hard-earned dollars on a product that we were selling. And that was validation for us of what we were doing. And as that continued and grow, and then over time, we don't know really any of the customers now that the orders come in from. We're just grateful they found us, and we're appreciative of them. But so that's how it started, was selling, the first 100 of these subdued reverse American flag lapel pins on our website. And that was it. We launched that website, assaultforward.us, with that single product. So the myth of entrepreneurship, that you have to take out a second mortgage on your house, or max out all your credit cards, go massively into debt, and have the whole thing figured out before you even launch. It pains me when I hear an aspiring entrepreneur say, I just need to raise $1 million and then I'll be able to start. It's like $1 million is a lot of money. And investors or your friends and family aren't just going to fork that over because you have an idea, right? So start out and show some traction, show some wins with a minimum viable product or service, whatever that may be. If you're in the nonprofit space, I love the veteran entrepreneur community, because they come in with grandiose ideas, right? I'm going to end veteran homelessness. I'm going to stop veteran suicide. And those are great ideas, but a lot of them start there. Instead of saying, I'm going to get one veteran off the street, or I'm going to prevent one veteran from committing suicide. And if you help one, and then you help another, and you can grow and scale over time, but your minimum viable product in human capital might be that single veteran. So you got to start somewhere. And my encouragement to everybody is to just take it easy. I know you want the $1 billion business, but if you can invest a little bit and get started, you'll be far better in the long run for having iterated and grown slowly and smartly over time.
I appreciate your comment about the nonprofit front, because I run a nonprofit here in Newark, Ironbound Boxing, and I always tell veterans, get started with one core program. What is the program that you're doing? If it's a free after-school program, get really good at that and delivering value, and then thinking about growing it. For us, it was the boxing program, our after-school boxing program, right? That's where our bread and butter. Now, one of the things I want to talk to you about is, when you first started Assault Forward, I knew you were fired up about the lapel pin. But were you and your co-founders also looking at other products, and did you settle on the lapel pin, or was it like, hey, we're going to go to market with this lapel pin?
Yeah, so it really started with the lapel pin from the very beginning, but we kind of knew that we could do that same design on tie clips and cufflinks and other, kind of keep it in that professional space. We did eventually add hats and t-shirts and socks, which are on our website. And we've just recently, a little plug for myself here, we just recently launched our American-made ties. So we have ties and even pocket squares now. So we're trying to be the professional veterans, American-made space, 100% silk ties, but all 100% made in USA. So, we're continuing to grow and expand our product line, but it did start with that one lapel pin. And then, from there, we did listen to that customer feedback, though, from the very beginning, from people saying, hey, I love the idea and I love you guys, love that it's American made, but, I don't feel comfortable having to explain why it's backward or things like that. So then we did the forward-facing subdued flag because we said, even though, and we heard from our friends, Marines like yourself, they said, hey, I didn't wear the flag on my uniform. Marines are sterile uniforms, right? Name tape and U.S. Marine Corps, right? That's it. Navy, Air Force, Army, we all wore the flag patch. But Marines said, I didn't wear it like that. I don't want to, that doesn't work for me, So then we did the full color, red, white, and blue lapel pin. Said, hey, if you like the red, white, and blue one, we have that for you too. And then we added, a lot of veterans go into law enforcement or for other first responders. So we added the thin blue line, thin red line, thin green line variations of the subdued flag pin. And then we were able to do that with tie clips and cufflinks and other products as we expanded and grew our product line over time. But it did start with that, kind of hone in on that one idea. And for me, it was really, what are you passionate about? And for us, we were passionate about empowering veterans to share the story of their service. And if you follow your passion, you'll find your purpose. And that was what we were able to do, because in time, we heard from our fellow veterans and customers that they were wearing those pins to start conversations in job interviews. Transitioning veterans were buying our pins to wear in interviews. And we were looking for that give back cause, right? What could we donate to? Was it ending veteran homelessness or trying to help veterans in mental health crises or things like that? And it came about so organically that helping transitioning veterans land their first post-military career job was a great fit for us. And so they were wearing that pin because they said, look, after I took off my military uniform, all those ribbons, patches, badges, all those things that were part of my identity, and told those in the military what I did and who I was, right? Whether it was rank or branch insignia or, combat ribbons or accomplishments or special schools, all those things are gone when you first put on a suit and go to your first civilian job interview. So wearing that simple subdued flag lapel pin helped start a conversation. Tell me about that. Oh, I was in the military. It helped them do that. So we were able to then donate pins and have customers buy pins to donate and create that give back mission. So whatever it is you're passionate about, go after that, and it will reveal the purpose behind what it is you're after. And I know you have that story, Mike, from your own, venture there with the boxing and helping the youth and at risk and all that.
Absolutely. You got to show up and enjoy your job every day, and everything else will follow. So I want to ask you this. When you came up with the idea for the lapel pin, talk to us about how long it took from idea, hey, we want to do this product, to actually putting it on the market.
So we like to tell the story. We got together for a round of beers at my local American Legion post and kind of convinced ourselves that we were going to do this. And it took us about 4 months, I would say, from deciding we were going to do it to when the website went live. And so that was, I'd say within the first month, we kind of came up with the name, which was not an easy thing to do, and kind of shop that around a little bit amongst ourselves and some close friends and family. So coming up with the name, the logo, creating social media pages, creating a website, ordering the first batch of product, which had about a 6-week lead time here for American manufacturing from once we found, and that was part of that too, was finding the right partner that was going to make the first batch for us of these pins in the U.S. and make sure that the metal was domestically sourced and all that. We wanted to do it the right way. Getting some packaging together, getting everything you need to fulfill orders, from little padded bags to a label printer and all of that sort of stuff. So coming that all together was really about, from flash to bang, I would say it was about 4 months from deciding we were going to do it to getting the first order in the door.
One of the reasons I asked this question is, and it goes back to what you and I were talking about in the pre-interview of, right, when we think of minimum viable product, right? Some people can stick that and say, I'm going to go to the market with the most raggiest, simple, cheapest thing ever and start getting market validation. But then there's other people that try to get the perfect product, right? And they're trying to get the perfect product, but they're doing it in a bubble because they're not getting that market validation. So can you talk to our viewers today about how to balance, making a really good product, but also going to market with a minimum viable product and making it good while also balancing like, hey, the only way this thing works is if you get market feedback. Because I see so many entrepreneurs, I'm sure you do as well, in the bunker ecosystem, they're just focused so much on trying to create this perfect product that, they're not giving themselves an opportunity to validate it.
Yeah, it's finding the balance and what works for you, right? So we wanted to go to market with a quality product. So this is a stamped mold pin. There's 50 stars, not dots, 13 stripes. It's enamel is the color fill on it. So it's a firm product. We wanted to make sure it didn't spin or rotate. So we have the extra post on the back and put the rubber backing in along with the standard military clutch backing and all that stuff. So all those details were very important to us to getting the product right from the beginning. But that was for us with this product. But I have, other veteran entrepreneurs in the ecosystem that are doing like beauty products, right? And they formulate and they iterate, and then they finally get one to go to launch. And they're very interested though, is the scent right? Is the texture right for people? Give me your feedback on that shaving cream or that lotion or that hair care product, and they will iterate, right? They can change the formula. They're not mass scaling that. They're launching slow. Same thing with a lot of food-based companies, right? We have veterans that are making syrup and coffee and brewing. And, if the flavor profile isn't quite right, or, this they need a little more of an ingredient or this or that, they're listening to that feedback and they're willing to adjust and change. So you can iterate after you launch with your first product. It doesn't say you have to have the final product that you're going to mass produce right off the bat. However, you want to make sure, though, that it is a true representation of what you envision your brand to be and what you want to go to market as. Can you start a boxing studio in your garage? I'm sure you could. Is that going to be, the way for you to promote your brand and image versus a small studio space? You can always go bigger, but what does that look like for you in starting versus where you want to be and what's required for your type of business? For us, it was not that we had to have a retail storefront from day one or that we had to have crazy distribution or partnerships. We could start with our own website and sell from there. Then we could list it on Amazon or eBay or do pop-up shops at military bases or work on corporate order fulfillment or mass orders or bulk orders like we do now, and finding retail distribution partnerships and things like that. So you can always grow and scale your business in time as you validate your success and reinvest those profits back into the business again, not having to bankrupt yourself or take massive debt on in order to scale the business. It's best if you can just reinvest and let the business rise and fall on its own merits, right? Because that, of course, again, is a good validation that, hey, this is working. We're taking the profits from our sales and putting them back into the business to grow and scale. And that's what we've done. We're a little over 3 years in, I think, at this point, or 4 years in, and we haven't taken any profits yet. We all have full-time day jobs because we continue to reinvest every dollar that are earned from our sales back into the business so that we can add new products like the ties and pocket squares and continue to be the vision of the brand as we see it, in the long term. And then once we reach a certain scale, hopefully we'll be able to, reward ourselves a little bit for all the hustle and grind in the early years. But we're not focused on that, from launch, at least this far into the journey.
One of the last questions I want to ask you is regarding your go-to-market strategy. So I know you said you kind of launched a website, you threw up the social media, but did you get any more specific than that? Were you thinking like, okay, we're going to do this website, who are we targeting, right? I like the value prop for Assault Forward because you're right. Like there's a lot of veterans that want to represent their pride and their service, but some graphic tees can be a little aggressive, especially in the corporate setting. So I love that you were able to come up with a product for those that, more in line with their beliefs about, professionalism, et cetera. But where were you targeting? Were you like, okay, we're going to hit up every professional service veteran business, or, talk to us about that?
Well, I mean, that is the power of social media marketing and LinkedIn marketing and things like that, is that you can very specifically segment your market and target those specific individuals that meet what you think you're going after. And so we also ran some very small test Facebook ads and things like that. And you get some pretty good feedback on to the age bands that are clicking on it. When we launched lapel pins, cufflinks, tie clips, things like that, let's be honest, our click rate was like 90% men, 10% women, right? Really, when you're young, you're still on active duty. When you're first transitioning out, you're not maybe necessarily thinking about this sort of stuff. So we didn't really get any clicks below like age 27 or 28, right? So we could stop wasting our limited ad dollars by targeting, people younger, right? Or by targeting females that weren't clicking on our ads, right? So let's focus on male customers that are like age 28 to 48 seem to be our sweet spot, or 58 a little bit more. Those working years were like, hey, if you're retired, you're not really putting on a suit as much anymore, you're probably not as interested. We also got feedback, from previous veteran, a little bit older veterans or previous generations of veterans that, they didn't wear the flag patch on the uniform. So they didn't get it. It didn't make sense to them. They're like, why would I wear a reverse American flag lapel? That doesn't make any sense to me. So we knew, like, connecting with those that were kind of like us, right? The post 9/11 Iraq and Afghanistan veterans that wore the reverse American flag patch on their uniform, that understood the meaning of what we were trying to convey, the assaulting forward. They didn't, we certainly had customers that didn't like our name. Assault forward, that's very aggressive. I don't like that name, But then we had other customers that are like, man, I often love it. I get that. That resonates with me. That brand is badass. You're like, okay, cool. We're just kind of trying to go with a good name that represented the flag. But it's like, okay, so you find out what hits and what misses, right? And then you try to hone in and reinforce that success.
I love it, and I call that perfect customer. Right. I think sometimes you want to be a little polarizing because it can scare off your not so perfect customers, but again, You nailed it. Post 9/11 veteran, understands what assault forward means, wants to be a little bit more aggressive in their patriotism, and wants to rep it in a professional setting. So love it. So as we wrap up, we've got people tuning in from all over the country, all over the world. What closing remarks would you like to leave them with regards to minimum viable product? And then also let us know as a community, we can support you and Assault Forward.
Yeah, we appreciate any visits to assaultforward.us. It's a .us extension because we're 100% made in America. But that's also a story of our origins. There was assaultforward.com was taken. So it was not being used. It was just parked, and so we contacted the owner of the website and said, hey, you're not using this website, can we buy it off you? And they said, sure, $65,000. And we said, you know what, I think .us is a very good website. Let's go with that, because that one was available. So that's why we're assaultforward.us, right? So you got to be a little flexible in your execution as well. So go to assaultforward.us, check us out. If you find anything you like, you can use the discount code Bunker Labs to take 15% off any order. And if it's not for you, just tell a friend about us. We're 100% veteran-owned and operated small business, and 100% of our products are made in America. So we appreciate your support for that. I'm sitting here in Washington, D.C., the most powerful city in the world. At least that's what they say before the Wizards games during the intro when the players are coming onto the court. And, DC is a great ecosystem for veteran entrepreneurship, but so is wherever you are. You got to start somewhere, and you got to start with something. And I love Steve Case, one of the original founders of AOL, if you remember that web service. He's a Cincinnati guy, and he always tells entrepreneurs that are asking him for money, because he's an investor, why don't you start your business in Cincinnati? The cost of living is a lot lower. The cost of rent, the cost of labor, you will have a lot more runway with your investment dollars if you start in a place like Cincinnati versus Silicon Valley, right? Everybody wants to go to the Bay and start their business in the tech space in Silicon Valley. And they run out of capital really fast because the cost of living and rent and labor is so high there. So wherever you are is a perfect place to start your business. And wherever you are in your journey, tapping into this ecosystem is only going to benefit you and help you connect and learn the shortcuts to find the quickest path to success. So dive in and get after it, because there's no better time or place to start than right now.
Love it, man. It's been great having you here, and that's great advice. What we're going to do now is we're going to transition into our book recommendations for the week. Joe, I don't know if you have a book recommendation for our viewers, but I'll give you some time to think of one as I go. And I'm reading right now The Consultant Bible, 2nd edition, How to Launch and Grow a Seven-Figure Consulting Business by Alan Weiss. Alan Weiss is a bit of a contrarian. A lot of you might know him as the $1 Million Consultant. He came up with this concept called value-based fees. And I really enjoy this book, mainly because it kind of speaks to an entrepreneurship philosophy that I kind of have, of like the bootstrapped entrepreneur, how to get started. And whether you're launching a professional service firm or not, he brings a lot of good advice in here about how to position yourself as an expert in your industry through thought leadership, writing, podcasting, blog posts, etc. How to find what he calls the economic buyer. And I use that term now because, Joe, I'm sure as you're aware of, when you're trying to sell a product or service, you can spend a lot of time trying to go through someone that really can't cut the check versus spending that marketing efforts going directly to the economic buyer, that person that's going to purchase your product or service, especially for B2B businesses. So again, check it out. It's a really good book. He brings tons of information, resources, how to put together a proposal and everything. And yeah, hope you guys enjoy this book. What about you? Joe? You got any book recs?
Awesome. So I'm gonna pull off from next to me here, How to Fight Racism by Dr. Jamar Tisby. He is one of my high school classmates and has gone on to be quite the prolific speaker. You've probably seen him on any of the cable news networks. But I think this is such an important topic of today and always. It's not enough to not be racist. We have to be anti-racist and fight racism in our communities. Washington, D.C. and the greater DMV area, as we call it, the District, Maryland, and Virginia, is an incredibly diverse and rich entrepreneur ecosystem. And I think we in the veteran community, we all wear green, or we're all green is the saying when you're on active duty. But as we transition out, the military has always led the way in diversity and inclusion efforts. And Bunker Labs and the veteran entrepreneur ecosystem has always been incredibly inclusive. And as we work to continue those efforts and be an inclusive environment where all are welcome, fighting racism continues to be an important part of that discussion. And so if you want to get smart on it and read up on it, it's a great topic. And it's something that we can all do better on. And that's part of our personal growth journey in business and life.
Love it. Somebody just commented, they said 58 is the new 38, by the way. I guess they're trying to tell us that like we're the youngins out here. So again, great having you on the show.
Absolutely.
And for everyone that's tuning into this, I want you to do me a favor and actually subscribe to our newsletter. I have a newsletter primarily for the Transition Podcast, which I'm hoping to get Joe on here in the future. But we'll include that in the link. And I released a newsletter today at 11 a.m. going over 5 steps to start generating revenue for your business. I know a lot of times people can jump out there like me and start building the parachute on the way down. You jump out the airplane, build the parachute on the way down. There's a better way to de-risk it. Doing a lot of stuff we talked here about getting paid clients or customers. And so I'll walk you through that steps, and you can subscribe to that newsletter. I send out a newsletter twice a week, once on Tuesday on a specific topic, a lot of stuff we're covering here. And then I do another one on Friday where I promote the podcast for the transition. So subscribe to that. I promise not to spam you, nothing but good educational content to support you all on your journey. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors for office hours, MetLife Foundation and the Gannett Foundation. The MetLife Foundation is committed to supporting veteran and military spouse entrepreneurs. In addition, the foundation also provides mentorship and financial health resources to veterans and military spouses transitioning into the workforce. A Community Thrives, a program funded by the Gannett Foundation and part of the USA Today Network, invest in community building initiatives across the country with the goal of creating positive change through service to historically marginalized or under-resourced groups. Make sure you all do us a favor and also subscribe to the Transition Podcast, also presented by the MetLife Foundation, where we demystify the entrepreneurial experience for veterans and military spouses of early stage startups and small businesses who feel like they're making it up as they go. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, or your favorite podcast hosting platform. And I'd greatly appreciate if you subscribe to the newsletter and rated and reviewed the show on iTunes for us. If you want to get plugged into the Bunker Lab ecosystem, visit bunkerlabs.org. From there, get connected at Bunker Online, where you can learn about our many different programs designed to support your entrepreneurial journey. We have programs that'll take you from idea to invoice, incubate you, and position you to grow alongside other founders and CEOs. Thanks again for tuning in to this edition of Office Hours. Next week, we'll be hosting a Q&A session on the upcoming veterans and residents. Until next time, peace, love, and have a great rest of your week, everyone.